The truth?
Oh, I'm all ears.
Okay. The truth.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
Why do you find it so hard to believe?
Why do you find it so easy?
It's never been easy.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth.
All I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
Hello and welcome to Truthful Talk. It's good to have you back, or if it's your first time, we're really happy for you to join our show. I'm Marco, I'm your host, and with me once again is Natalie Belich. Hello, Natalie.
Hello, Marco.
How you doing today?
I'm excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Yeah. It's been fun with doing these, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Time goes by quickly for me here.
Does, doesn't it
does.
really? Well, today we're really excited because we have a special guest with us today, which is a longtime friend of mine and my co-teacher at our studio. Welcome, Robb Maus.
Yay.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to be here with you guys.
It's so good to see you here.
Oh, thank you.
So I was trying to think, Rob, how long have we known each other?
Oh my goodness. It was before electricity.
Right. So
I think
it's been 20 years, right?
Yeah.
We're on 20 years, I think, at this point.
I think it's precisely 20 years.
Wow.
Is that when that one thing happened?
Yes,
that
that thing that happened. Yes. 20 years ago. Almost to the month.
Was it really? Was it a summertime thing?
I just know it was in July.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good memory.
Well, for a long time ago. I can't tell you what I did 5 minutes ago. But,
Wow, it was over the summer. Okay. It was a movie set we were on.
Okay. I was going to ask, was it here?
No. It was, we met on a film that we were both a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Were you guys acting in it?
we
or
were,
you...
so yeah, so we were, I started out acting and then I moved up at producing.
Uh-huh.
And then so Rob was acting and stayed acting. And
yes.
But that's how I met is when I moved into the producer role, I started to be on set on days when I wasn't acting, like helping out, helping run the set.
Because I had not seen you before.
Correct. Right.
He was acting in the film and I hadn't seen him. And one day he showed up and was in charge.
And it was July.
And I was like, I have not met this man. Who is this person?
Yeah.
And we started talking, and it was kind of
that was
fast
the
friends.
day in the house.
Yes.
Right. It was it was the day that we were inside that, because I remember the layout and where you were filming, and we were in the kitchen or something. I remember
something like
vaguely
that.
the layout of where we were. And that's what it was. Yeah, because we didn't have any scenes together in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were playing what? You were playing was it a preacher?
It was a preacher.
Oh, my.
Wow.
And you were playing?
I was a conflicted human being.
Okay.
It was very meta.
Yes, it was actually. My character was going through a difficult life change.
Okay.
And,
kind of an identity crisis.
Okay.
And I think the scene, I don't know, was the day we were there the scene you were shooting with your stage son?
No, that came later.
That was later.
Yeah,
okay.
that was later. The one I got in the fight with.
The one you broke your ribs on.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait.
It was a stunt gone wrong.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, was it on set? Was it in the parking lot?
No, it was on set.
no,
It was a scene.
It was a scene, but there was a stunt gone wrong, just slightly out of position, and it cracked your.
Yeah, 3 of them.
3 ribs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, that was one of those situations where actors really should speak up. Because I felt like we needed time to walk through it at half speed, kind of choreograph it.
Right.
Which is pretty standard, but they were losing their light. And so they rushed. And
the son was young. I mean, when I say young, he's a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
But he was young enough to kind of like, oh, let's just improv it and let's go and let's be more physical than we should.
Yeah.
And, which which leads us into safety, which we can talk about a different time. But
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was an experience.
But that wasn't that day. Okay, so that
No.
wasn't the day that, because I vaguely remember all that.
Yeah. But we became pretty good friends very quickly.
Yeah, but I don't remember how. Like, I don't remember the steps that happened after that. Do you?
I think we worked on this project, and I was clearly impressed with his leadership because the film needed leadership.
And I just have a tendency of taking over.
No, you don't say.
It's one of the things I really appreciate about Mark.
Someone has to. Yeah.
But yeah, after that, I believe you put out a casting notice for a project.
Is that for Untitled?
Yes. And I came in and
Untitled was next.
Yes.
Really? So okay. For some reason, I thought there were steps between that.
There may have been, but that's the next thing that I clearly remember.
Because we brought you in as a reader.
That's right.
On Untitled.
Yeah.
It was a feature film that I was doing with Philip Bach, and Philip Bach's a good friend of mine, a good friend of ours actually now. He's in California, does a lot of voice directing, but we were doing a film, and it was a big casting call because it's a feature film and it's a gritty crime drama. You know, yeah,
I love those.
And it was fun, but we were going to see a ton of people, 100 people in a day or something. We needed a strong reader, and I was like, oh, we should bring in Robb as a reader, since he doesn't fit any of the types of the characters.
Yes.
Right. And this is 20 years ago or whatever. So, I still didn't have it solidified in my head that someone that doesn't fit the type of the character could actually play the character. And that was during the day, Robb reading was out acting everyone else in the room who was auditioning. And it brought such a unique thing that Phil and I were like, hey, Robb, what if you read for this very gritty, rough character? And it was just like, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
And it was interesting that casting, there were two people that caught us off guard. It was you and it was a girl, Melanie, who, she came in and read for this male, gritty, kind of very rough character. And it was one of these things where we actually thought, wow, that would be an interesting choice. It was written for a male character, very Reservoir Dogs type of thing. And so but when she came in and read and brought this really cool vibe, the thought went through Phil's head of, wow, maybe this could work. And then then it came back to, well, we would have to rewrite the entire script. Like there's too many
the work
other
behind.
Yeah, all the other connections and everything else wouldn't necessarily work. So she still got a smaller role in the film.
Yeah.
But then it went to Robb, who was kind of a completely different type.
Yeah, the way he was described in the script, completely different from me.
Yeah.
And I was astounded that Phil and you asked me to read for it at the end of the day.
Wow,
Phil came up and he says, would you just do me a favor? Would you just for fun, would you just, give us your take on it? And sure, And,
so you got happily bamboozled. You didn't know. You're like, just for fun, I'm going to read.
Well, it was an interesting project. It was kind of film noir. It was black and white, and kind of had that vibe of kind of older films.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, a gritty crime drama kind of thing. And so it was very interesting to me, and to get to play a character like that that's so outside of my type was just a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
Really fun.
It was awesome. It was a great experience. And of course we went through that together. And then from there, I tried to drag Robb into producing. I was like, come produce with me.
Oh, yeah.
And we did Because of
We
You,
did a couple
which is another
times,
feature film. We did The Gossip Shop,
That's
which
right.
was a comedy pilot, a sitcom comedy pilot. We did a couple things.
Yeah.
And then Robb's like, peace, I'm out.
That side of it's not for me.
I don't produce, I just act.
It's not for me.
Really? You really didn't? So you gave it a go.
I did.
But it's just something.
Yeah. We all have our passions, you know, and I think I would like maybe some roles behind the camera, but not. I don't think that's for me.
And it's still, to me, elusive, like what they do. And then when you kind of get a little hint behind the curtain, you scream and you close it back and you run the other way.
Yeah.
Producers do everything.
That's right.
I love
And
that.
they're, it's the one thing, and I think it's just they don't know how to give like an Academy Award to producing. And there's so many producers that do you give it to the production team? Do you give it to the lead producer? But it really should be awarded, because without good producers, you're not making the film or the play or anything else. Producers are in charge of making everything happen. Everything. They're in charge of locations. They're in charge of wardrobe. They're in charge of props. They're in charge of the actors and getting all the contracts signed. They're in charge of all logistics. They're like everything. Art department. Everything that happens is a producer's job. And it's which I personally love, but I like the responsibility.
It suits your personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
That's so interesting.
But they're the unsung heroes on a film project.
Well,
the director gets all the like. So a director comes in and says, "Oh, this is what I want. I want it to look like this, and I want this to be in the background and all." So that's what the director says. The cinematographer will say, "Okay, this is how we can do it." But then that gets handed off to a producer who actually has to get all the things to get it done.
Okay.
The producer has to get the locations or the soundstage or the equipment or the materials, or that's all production.
It was a great experience. I wouldn't trade the experience for anything because it's given me a kind of insight into that side of something that I've been in most of my life, but that I knew nothing about. So in terms of what I learned through that, I wouldn't trade it for anything. But it's
because something like Gossip Shop was fun.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun, which was it was a half-hour comedy pilot type of thing. It was very very fun. Set in a hair salon.
Yeah.
Is there a way to view this, or is there like some archival thing? Do I have to go deep and get this out just for those who'd like to watch? And
I honestly don't even know where that one is. I don't think we have.
I
because
have a
this
copy
was
of it somewhere.
This was before digital. Like it's before
Sure.
computers and digitals. Not before computers, but but I mean before
Almost.
it was almost back then. But yeah, so it's. I'll have to see if I have a copy I can digitize. Maybe.
Yeah, I do have a copy of it somewhere.
You do? Okay. Yeah, I should.
I'd
sure
have to
I
look
do.
for it, but
that'd be wonderful.
And then
to view.
Because of You was the second film that Phil and I did. And then that was one that you were producer on, but then also
First
you and I
AD.
acted in. Yeah.
In that one too.
Well, you played a first AD
while I was.
Whoa.
Yeah.
First
So because I played, my character was a director, and then Rob was my first AD. Like our
cute.
characters were, which was very, very fun.
That was fun.
That was
so much fun.
That was such a good project.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
And I guess from there we did that very weird audition. We did a couple of weird auditions together.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot
The
about
DRR one it was the weird one.
Oh, that was very odd.
Yeah.
That was very odd.
Yeah,
And
I know I'm being cryptic, but there's some things I just don't, I mean, there's some
Right.
things I don't, you don't need to know exactly what it is, but
I was like, is that an acronym?
it is.
Yeah.
It's an acronym for a project
I hear
that
you,
was
yeah.
just the audition process was just weird. And in hindsight, extremely inappropriate.
It was very inappropriate.
But I mean, until things cracked open in 2014, we didn't even mention inappropriate. It was just
Right. You
would say, "Oh, that was a weird audition,"
Yeah.
but now it's like that was an inappropriate.
It was. And these
Audition.
strange auditions that we went to, just somehow I seem to get involved in those projects.
Somehow.
Yeah, but that was definitely different. The way they ran that cast.
A lot of red flags.
There were, and I ignored every single one of them.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
And then finally, we went to that audition for the film you
Yes.
got.
Yeah. True. And that was an interesting car ride home. It was down in South Florida, and so we went down together. It looked like a pretty big project,
Yeah.
and also a very strange audition. But we left there, both of us, I think, feeling kind of dumbstruck by the experience. And I never expected to hear from them again. I don't know if you did, Marco, but
No.
And a couple weeks later, I got this phone call that they wanted me to play a role, and I was excited about it.
Yeah. And then I got a call back for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
It was an audition where we were going down. It was in West Palm Beach, and it was a monologue. They were asking for a monologue, and then they might have us do a couple of other things. And we're like, okay, that sounds good. And so we go down to this thing. It's in a school and like a cafeteria or something. Big place. But excuse me, when we show up, there's a ton of people there. I mean, there's like I didn't expect that many people to be there, and they're all in the auditorium or the cafeteria at once. And we show up and we find out that this is a callback.
That's right. I forgot that.
Not a first audition. And so all these people, because they're like, well, do you have your sides? I'm like, what sides? And so it was a weird thing. It's like, no, it's like, oh, you don't, because people were here from New York and here from like out of town, and they had their sides and they're all prepared. And so like, oh, it's okay. Well, here's some material. We're just going to throw you in. And I don't think we did the same auditions. They had these breakout things all over where they were having us like do different types of things. I was always envious because you got an improv.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want the improv. I can do that. And they gave me this very fast, it was a 5-person scene that was very quick in the dialogue. Like short things back and forth. Everyone else is off book because they've had it. This is a callback. I get it. And I'm trying to stay up to speed with this very rapid fire, kind of Tarantino-esque dialogue with 5 people. And so that was just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I forgot it was a callback.
They never asked us to do our monologue, or I didn't.
No, me either.
You did an improv and something else. I can't remember what else I did, but that was it. And we left and I was like, what was that? Because I remember when we first got there was the thought of, should we just leave?
Yeah. Yeah.
You walk into the room, there's all these people, they're flying in from everywhere. They have the scripts. It's a callback. We're like a fish out of water. We're like, maybe we just leave.
Right.
I felt so unprepared.
Right. We were.
And did they know? Did you spill the beans? Like, listen, we didn't know that this was a callback. We thought it was an audition. We came. So
we
they already
told
knew.
That to the person sitting behind the table
Which
who didn't.
Obviously worked in your favor. Because like, okay, sure. But that means you guys rose to the occasion. Like, they didn't even know that it was a callback.
Well, the thing is, we drove all this way.
Right.
That's sweet of them.
We can't not do it. And so we ended up doing it. And Rob got offered a big role in there. And then I was up for a role that eventually went to somebody else, but that was the right choice.
So more of the story is like, show up and do it.
That's right. You never know.
Well,
because I don't want people to think like, don't come in unprepared.
Just show up and do the best you can. You just never know what they're thinking. The fact that we both got a callback is amazing.
Right?
Yeah. And back then, I don't know if I could have played. It was such a different character than who I am. I don't know if I could have played it back then. I always felt like, no, this is the other guy they have up for it is better because he's actually more like that type,
that person
of that character. Mm-hmm. Today, I could easily play it, but back then, I don't think I was ready for it. But it was an interesting experience. And show up and even like with Rob being the reader.
Mm-hmm.
He came in knowing like, no, you're not right for the part. You're just going to be a reader. And then ended up getting a part because he's just doing really good work as a reader.
Yeah.
So for actors, just get involved. Any way you can, get involved. Go to auditions, even help out with the auditions.
It's so important. I mean, it's you can't get anything unless you are present. And I think the more you can get involved in every aspect, if you're interested in film acting or something like that, the more you can get involved, the more you can participate in, be a PA, be an assistant, be whatever you can be, because all of that is going to add to your knowledge base eventually, and you're going to have an appreciation for the way all of these things work. Showing up is half the battle sometimes. Don't you think?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you don't know what's in their heads, and
that's right. Casting directors often don't know what's in their heads until it walks through the door. That's a very common thing. They have an idea. Yeah. But as you were talking about Melanie and myself, sometimes that idea can change instantaneously. So go. Show up.
Yeah, just show up and don't be afraid to ask to audition for something that's out of your type.
Uh-huh.
Because even if even if you're not right for this project, directors and producers will be thinking about you for a future project, as what happened with you, Nat. For the theater, you auditioned for Tape, which was our second show in Theater on the Edge, and just weren't right for the part in the sense of, because, right, I mean, acting wise, you were easily there, but type wise, it didn't fit with Zach and Joey. So we needed someone that fit in with this, that felt right. And I remember it was you and then two others that we were considering, and it ended up going to Megan, who just felt like Megan, Zach, and Joey. They felt like that was right. Because you need to have that believability that these are longtime friends, and the ages need to match, and
well, that's something I've learned over the years is that casting folks, because you and I have done a lot of castings as well, and so one of the things I know from being on that side of the table is you want to cast when you have a good actor that comes in, you want to cast them, you want to find something for them, and so even though it may not happen this time, you're going to remember that person, right? Because they came in, they were professional, they did a great job. The rapport in the room was nice. And so you're going to make a mental note of that person.
Yes.
And even if you don't have something for them in this project, the next time it comes around, who would be great for this? Right. And you call them in. And so I think that's something that is worth taking note of.
For sure.
Because it's all about building those relationships and making yourself known to people. And doing that in a way that makes them want to work with you.
Yeah. I think it's so important for people starting off in acting, or they think that it's just, I have to land this audition today, now, because, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And I mean, when you don't recognize that that's not even what it's truly about at the end of the day, because you don't know what's in front of you, what's behind you. It's just showing up like you're saying, but that being able to be in front of somebody, showcasing what you can do. There's not many industries, or actually just industries like remember you. You know what I mean? Like whatever. But this industry, they do more so than others. Like, remember that person from this way. Like, let's go in the file, and they have all the files, and they have all this stuff.
That's right.
And the information. But this one is just a wonderful place to take that pressure off oneself, because I think that's a big learning lesson. Even I had it.
I think we have to take the long view, to say, you're building something over time. And so each time you go into audition for any casting director, you're establishing something, you're building something with them. And I think that, I used to have that mindset too. I recall a play that I wanted to do very, very badly, The Elephant Man. I wanted to do it. And my nemesis got it. But I had that mindset, like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get this job, I'm going to do this thing. And what I've learned over the years is that each of those is simply an opportunity, right? It's simply an opportunity to act, number one, to work on your craft and to do this thing that you love to do. And if you end up booking a role, that feels like a bonus to me at this point. It's something that's, oh, wow. Now I can take a break from auditioning for a minute, because now I got a role. But auditioning is an actor's full-time job.
Oh, I think so.
I mean, that's what it is. And you can't go in with the mindset that, this is it. This is the one thing, because you're going to have more.
The long game.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that, because it takes away from that. I mean, I know acting friends who are, let's say, earlier in their journey, and they are losing their minds under pressure because of the fact that they didn't get it. And why did this person get it? And it's just like, whoa. I can't help them see that. They have to walk through those doors, or maybe hear it from, the podcast and other places where it's like, just show up, do your best, and let it go.
Yeah.
Because of that, like, you're auditioning. That's what we do. We're acting. And then if we get it, it's a bonus. But it breaks my heart when I see them, and it, deters them from acting, because they think that they're supposed to have gotten it by now. And what's the thing? Like, their second audition.
Yeah. The reality is, you're not going to get most of them. right? I mean, and that's just how
Right.
it is.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You
and
want
the
to do it
love.
because you love doing it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think that shows in the room as well. I think when an actor's really enjoying what they're doing and they have this effortlessness to what they're doing because there's not so much burden on their shoulders to get the job, they're more involved in playing the scene right now.
Right.
You know,
that
and that's just
energy.
lovely to watch.
All
Yeah.
that energy that one needs, right? And you always say this, use everything, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Use everything.
So even that is just that signal that an actor can do that and use everything
Mhm.
for that role, for that part. It's just such a I want to call it a maturity of an actor that knows how to do that
Yes.
instead of someone on the outskirts of it who needs to kind of just get more confident with not getting it, but giving all their focus into that
Mm.
that role and then letting it go and then letting it go.
So, but what I was saying earlier is that, Nat, you came in and auditioned for tape. So did Alethea auditioned for tape.
Alethea Quinn.
And both weren't just typed out of it. And someone else, another student that just typed out. But I mean, all could play the role. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like one acting was better than the other. But a lot of it does go into, does it work for the ensemble? So I remember then, let's see, that was our second play. Our third, fourth, fifth play, that's when I remember calling up Alethea and just saying, hey, do you want to have a cup of coffee? And then just saying, do you want to be in this? Like, do you want to be in proof? And that was just right away. And that was from the tape audition.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So to me, she had already booked something from the tape
So
audition,
beautiful.
which was a year earlier.
Mhm.
But I didn't have anything. But a year later, I didn't need to see her re-audition.
Mhm.
It was like, nope, do you want this?
That's so wonderful, right?
And then the next play was then Gideon's Knot. And I was already sold on you, but we needed to bring you in for the director
Uh-huh.
because I wasn't the director.
Right.
So I couldn't make
Mhm.
that decision. So I brought you in. It was an easy sell. But it just goes to show when we're auditioning, we're not only auditioning for that one project.
So
Mhm.
true.
We're
Yes.
auditioning for anything else they might do.
That's right.
And just so like you were saying, it's not just about that one thing that they're doing.
You know, and another thing that I didn't realize early in my acting life is that so much of it is completely out of your control. You know, you
right.
know, what type you are, what your essence is, that is what you are, and that's out of your control. What they're looking for is out of your control. You know, there's so
Mhm.
many elements that we try to manipulate, but really the only thing we can do is prepare ourselves as well as we can and
Yeah.
go in the room and do the thing. And sometimes you're not right to, like you said, work
Yeah.
with the rest of the cast, or it has to, they have to look a certain way, or be believable in a certain way. And so you really just have to do your best work that you can and let it go.
There is, because I mean, there was a lot of things that you and I auditioned for, like the same part.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, back then you think of, oh, well, whoever they're going to select is the better actor. And it's like, no, we're so
No.
different in type that if like
Right.
whatever direction they go in, a type has to come into that.
Right.
Yes.
So it's as an actor, we have to let go of this idea that, oh, this person's a better actor, or they think
Mhm.
this person's a better actor. It's like, no, they're just better for this role. And when I say this role, they're better for this version of this role
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
seen through the eyes of the director.
Right.
Yeah. And often it's not it's so subjective anyway, but
Mhm.
it's not what we would say, oh, that was the best performance. It's not that person that always gets cast.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it's not about that at all.
True.
And so I mean, when I'm casting, I like to try to find the best actor I can find, but it's sometimes that is not the deciding factor. I'd say more often than you would imagine. That's not the number one thing.
I'm thinking about the documentary about De Palma,
Mm.
and it shows that he has like a photos with Spielberg and Scorsese, young. They're all there, but they've already become directors in the studio.
Right.
And long story short, one guy was auditioning, and I want to say Star Wars, right? And De Palma's like, hey, listen, I can't do it right now, but can you go ahead and like audition for Carrie for me? Because I can't kind of. So they audition not just for Star Wars, but like they all did it at the same time. Meaning is like the sides or that stuff was all similar. And then they kind of went in different ways to like, okay, this, I saw her for Carrie, or her, like I would like her. Like it was just one big audition. Wow. That they were utilizing at one time that I didn't even know that you were able to do or that people in the industry do. Yeah. So there's so many things that you aren't even what you're reading for sometimes isn't for the project that is literally in your hand. You think it's just for a whatever it is, and then you don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
That's unusual for film, that situation. It's very common in theater. Right? You go to a regional audition or you go to a seasonal audition for a specific theater, and you're being considered for a lot of shows that they might be doing that season. But film,
they used to do it more back in the day.
Okay,
collective auditions.
Yeah, I wasn't doing film back in the day.
Yeah,
theater back.
It was there was an efficiency to it.
Yeah,
you could save money having multiple directors in a room and.
Very just interesting. You just don't know what the casting, what you really are there for. You don't know what's behind the scenes.
Yeah,
right.
So just do the thing.
That's right.
Do the best that
yourself.
You can.
Enjoy yourself.
Because you just never know. When we were putting together the cast for Say Goodnight Gracie, there's 5 people. They have to be friends. Well, there's 4 plus your character, Nick, right? Who was the one outsider.
Yeah.
So you were the one that could be different. And I remember in casting, it was like, okay, so Catherine can be a little bit different, a little bit older than the rest of them, but the others had to be 28 years old because they were going to the 10-year high school reunion. They had to be lifelong friends. It was like, okay, how do we piece this together and do that? And so that was very, we had to be very careful as we kind of put all that together. But it worked, it worked out really well. But I mean, in saying that, it's not just about every actor thinks they can play every part.
We want to.
We want to. And we think that but really, what I try to tell actors, look, if you're not selected, don't take it in any negative way. And I know it's hard not to. We take it as a rejection, but don't take it as a rejection. You don't want to be part of a project that you're not right for. Like if you don't fit in, you don't want to be, because otherwise you're not going to have a good time. It's not going to gel. You're not going to feel right. I mean, yeah, you got selected for this project, but if it doesn't turn out the best that it can, then why be a part of it?
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I was cast when I was 19 years old, and I still looked very much like a child. I was 19 years old. I was cast as a married man with 5 children.
Really?
Yeah, in a play, and it was one of the most difficult acting experiences of my life, still to this day. I felt so out of place, and as you were saying, you don't want to be in that situation.
Right.
I think that theater simply cast me because I showed up. That was a strange experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely take your point. Yeah.
So it's always interesting. Casting to me is so interesting how it has to me, there needs to be a believability from the audience of who these people are. And we can't, if we jump age too much, that's a big one. And age is not how old you actually are. Age is how old you can be perceived by an audience. So that's the thing that we have to
100%
to look at, right? We in acting, we don't ever reveal our actual ages. Not like for auditions, because what happens is if I'm a casting director and you come in, and let's say I am doing that one part, and it's like, oh, I need someone that's like newly married and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, well, Rob, you look like that part. And then how old are you? And you say, I'm 19. I'm like, ooh. Immediately, I now have information that's conflicting. And it's like, oh, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But before that, I'm only going off of the type and the energy and everything else. And it's like, oh, this could work. You might feel 24, 25, which is what I want. And it's like, no, I'm 19. It's like, no. So just with that information, we now have typed ourselves out of.
Yeah, it changes your perception.
Change completely. Yeah. So all we care about is what we look like, meaning how are we perceived to the audience? That's really all that matters. So let me ask you something then.
Okay.
What was it like? How was the challenge of acting in A Normal Heart? Because you had to play somebody that is contrary or has beliefs contrary to your own.
That is true.
So what was that challenge like?
Well, first of all, it was a play I wanted to do.
Right.
And I had wanted to do the play for probably 20 years or more.
Okay.
And so I was getting to a point where in age, perception, as you were just speaking about, I was getting to a point where I was going to age out of it.
Yeah.
And so this opportunity came up, and I was offered one role, and then as I was preparing that role, the person that turned it down came and was available all of a sudden. And so they switched me into another role, and this is the one you're referring to.
Which is the older brother.
Which is the older brother who, just had beliefs and ideas that are so opposite of my own.
Yes.
And so the challenge for me, number one, was to switch my perspective from these two roles. But the big challenge was, what can I find about this man that I can specifically relate to, or how can I find a way to fall in love with this character?
Okay.
And that was a big challenge. And the thing that saved me there, I think, was because there are some characters that they're just so far, and there's a voice or a story that you don't particularly want to tell.
Right.
And so I think the challenge for me, luckily, he was a historical person.
Yeah.
A real person. And so I did my research as you always do. And I learned that later, after the events of the play, he became kind of an advocate for the community, the gay community, and made a big difference in overturning certain laws in the state of Texas, I believe.
Oh, no kidding.
And really became a different kind of human being. And so it was his future self that I fell in love with. And then appreciating the struggle of coming to terms with one's own point of view and open to accepting perhaps a different point of view. And the fact that he went through that experience is how I found my way in.
So his ability to change.
That's right.
And be more open. And,
because his love for his brother was so immense that because he took care of his brother, he kind of raised him.
Right.
And so his love for his brother was so large and so profound that it caused him to want to change. And so that's how I began to identify with the character, because I've held viewpoints that have changed over the years.
Sure.
And as most human beings do. So, but that was the big challenge in the role for me. And to play him at that point when he was still possessed of those kinds of thoughts and points of view. So,
I mean, basically, he was the antagonist.
Oh, he was definitely definitely the antagonist. But that play was remarkable to be a part of. It really was, because it dealt with subject matter that I lived through, as a human being, and a very dark time. And so it was both easy and difficult, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
It was easy in the sense that I could relate immediately, but it was difficult to revisit.
Yes.
I think that's how I would explain
Okay.
it. Yeah.
All right. Because we get that question a lot, from students, that how do you step into a character that I guess has beliefs or sees, how do you do that? The character sees the world so differently than you. How do you shut off your own beliefs to step into that character? Yeah. For whatever reason, I like doing that. So I don't have that issue.
I do too most of the time. Yeah.
But it does come up, I mean, quite a bit, where it's like, well, I don't know if I could play someone that does this, or I don't know if I can play someone that,
Yeah.
Which sure. I mean, which my response is, well, yeah, I mean, if you can inhabit the point of view of the character, if you can't go all the way for the character, then don't. Then turn down the part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's better that you turn down the part, give it to someone else that is able to go there, than to take it on and only go partially there.
It's very important. If you can't find something to appreciate about the character, even if you don't agree, right? Which often we don't agree with what they do or how they do it. But you have to find something that you can take in and say, okay, well, this is like what to me?
Yeah.
And some way to relate. I think if you're in a position where you're judging and looking at a character in a certain way, I think it makes it almost impossible.
It does.
To play them in a authentic way.
You have to love them.
Yeah, you do. You really do. I believe that.
Did you have any conflict with that either for any of the characters you played?
No, I'm like
not even Corinne.
No, I'm like you in regards to I like going down those slippery slopes.
Yeah,
like, give me the thing and I'm going in. So I haven't yet found something that I haven't said I would never or I can't do that or I choose not to. Yeah. I think of other actors that have done some stuff like Alan Whitehead and things like that I think are like, ooh, okay, that's some really delicate material. How would I approach that? How would I do that? So I haven't found that yet, but I'm aware of people who just won't, and that's okay. Yeah. And that whatever that is.
And that's common. That's okay, right? I mean, there's so many actors that have that section or that area. It's like, no, I never want to play this or I never want to play that, whatever that is. I don't have that filter, so I don't. So I'm like, I'll play it. Yeah. It's like, you would really do. It's like, why? It's not me. It's it's me in a different timeline. So sure, let me explore it. But it is okay to have that, though. It is okay to say, because I remember even our mentor Larry Silverberg even said I would never play Hitler.
Yeah, that's right.
But because of his involvement in the Jewish community.
Let me guess.
So right, but I mean, his family was directly impacted.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it's understandable.
Yeah, I'm like you, Marco. Most of the time, that's not an issue for me at all. I play killers and psychopaths and all kinds of things. Most of the time, that's not an issue. I think when it becomes something for someone, it's when the material or the character touches on something so deeply personal that you just can't.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's some things.
Or if the thing is propaganda, like if the message, if the theme is against what you believe, then I would say no, let's not. Like if you're asked to do, we'll pay you a bunch of money to be in this political ad, that's completely opposite of what you believe. It's like, no, you have to turn it down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Or not.
Or not.
But I was just thinking of, you guys say this all the time as teachers, and how one would come to that process of even knowing, right? Mm. And you both always say, read plays, go watch shows. And it's not just because, you can see the stage but it's so that you can kind of, as an actor, find out, put yourself in that shoes. Like, could I do that material? Would I be able to, whatever that is, or who was, what did I just see? I don't know. And there's so much resources that we have, so many that, when you go down those paths of, just putting yourself there, like, could I do that? I don't know. What is it? Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, with, Noomi Rapace, the original that was moving. There's a scene in there that I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's a scene of, physical, it's a rape scene and all that stuff. And they don't shy away from all this stuff. But just what she was able to do, it's one of those things, with my coffee, like, could I do that? I don't know. But you have to really
that's right.
Read, watch, see, engage.
I think it's important, too, to know what you're drawn to.
Yeah.
Artistically, what are you attracted to? What kinds of things do you want to do?
What story you want to tell.
That's right.
Just interesting.
And I think you find that out just the way you're saying.
Yeah, you're like, oh, yeah.
I love broken people. That's where I want to go.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I want to dive deep into why they're broken and what they're fighting for, and that's
your role as Barry in talk radio.
Very broken person. Yeah,
that was just remarkable.
Which is what I loved about it is discovering, because it's not on the page, right?
It's not.
It's the script of talk radio is talk radio. I mean, it's what we're doing now.
It's in the title.
But to find, all the elements of why Barry's so broken, and it was so much fun to do. And that's what I love. And I love characters that are, and the audience doesn't know how different they are than you are.
True.
They don't realize it. Yeah. Many audience members are like, oh, that's just
they
you.
Must be kind of like that. Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm really not. Yeah. But it is interesting to go down that. I love finding those things.
I'm still awestruck by the technical prowess that it took for you to do that role. That was,
you mean running the board and everything?
Remarkable.
That was so much fun though.
I could tell you were having fun. It was amazing to watch.
If it doesn't scare me, I don't want to do it.
That's wonderful.
And so that's why I was like, you know what? I'm going to run this thing from stage.
Terrified. Perfect.
That way, if it doesn't work, it's on me.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
But I'm the one tech would call to fix it anyway. So I'm like, well, let me just have it on stage. And then if it breaks, I'll
brilliant.
Fix it.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was a lot of moving parts in that.
But I felt, as we went through it, I remember this feeling like if I hit a button and something doesn't happen, like tech has to be too, not that they wouldn't be on the ball, but they can't see the subtleties of what I'm doing with the board. They don't know what button I'm hitting. Like it's so just giving me the freedom to just put collars on and off and adjust the board as necessary. It was like, let me just do that. And we gave a little bit to Alex too. Alex had some board ops that he would do, and it worked really well.
So awesome.
That was fun.
It was.
That was a lot of fun. Okay, so that's actually
I saw you have a moment.
Yeah, I was like, well, we almost came to a conclusion of a topic, which is nice. Which actually is the end of this session. So,
see, time goes by quickly.
Time
it's
flies.
over already.
Really?
Yeah, that is it.
Wow,
Believe it or not, it flies by. So, any advice that Rob, that you could give to anyone thinking about acting, starting acting? What's your best advice?
I think the number one thing I would tell somebody is just begin. Simply begin. If you have this little voice in your head that's saying, you should try that, or you have something in your heart perhaps is pulling you toward it, and it's a lot of times what stops us, I think, is just simply being afraid of what we don't know. And so the best advice I could give somebody is, if it's in your heart to do, or you're thinking about it, take that first step. You don't have to know the whole path. You don't have to know how to get where you think you might want to go. It's taking that first step, I think, that is the most important thing, because until we do that, we'll never find out. And so I would just say, start it, find some way in taking that first step. And it's amazing how a path will unfold in front of us if we have the boldness to simply take that first initial step.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you,
This was so much fun.
Isn't this fun?
Yeah, thank you.
And Nat, thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
All right. And to all of you out there, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back with you again soon. And until then, make sure you treat yourself with kindness and reward yourself for the risks that you take. Bye now.
Bye.
If you'd like to learn more about our studio and what we do, you can find us online at truthfulacting.com. And check out truthfulactingonline.com for our Learn at Home at Your Own Pace courses.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I know what you're trying to do.
I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.